Welcome back, everybody. It's Brady Holland with the Tyler Miller team at eXp Realty. Come back at you with a Fireside Chat Podcast. It's been about 6 months, to be honest, since I've done a Fireside Chat Podcast, so I'm really happy to bring Wyatt Lemon on and just have some fun, talk about real estate, and just learn a little bit more about you, buddy.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me on. I'm super excited. I'm like a little bummed. I feel like we left some of the best clips for like just before we even got the camera rolling today.
We'll put it right here. I was in Vegas and like we were at. Have you ever been to Vegas? Okay, so it's a journey.
Yeah,
but I lived it to the fullest. Like,
yeah,
woke up with chips in my pocket.
Like it literally looked like I was watching like you and Tyler's TK's videos, and I was like, okay, that looks like so much fun.
Oh my gosh, so they rented out the barbershop, which is kind of like a speakeasy like nightclub in the Cosmo.
Yeah,
Daniel Beer and Kyle Whistle, like the big guys out in San Diego with EXP, and they rented it out for $80,000, like open bar, like free food, like live band, and like, oh my gosh, like I never thought I would be like twerking on Kyle Whistle, but I was. Like,
that is so funny. Oh my god,
it was just like a surreal moment. Like the whole party was, and then like out of nowhere, like Kelly Brown's there, and I'm like, oh, I know you. Like,
that's so funny.
Like I met this one agent, EXP agent out in Colorado, like does a bunch, and like Tyler's like, you guys got to meet. Like I'm a big hunter, fisher, and so is this guy. Like it was like 1 a.m. We're like singing "Pour Some Sugar on Me." At the end of the song, we're like, he goes, "You got to come elk hunting." I'm like, yeah, I do, man. Like.
But dude, those connections are invaluable.
Oh
like,
my gosh,
you
can't beat them.
That's
like,
awesome.
But yeah, maybe I'll have to try to sneak that into the podcast because that was a good little clip right there.
I know it was.
Boom, and now I don't have to worry about it. Boom, see, that's editing right there, guys. Take notes. Let me know if you need help. But yes, so Wyatt, where are you at? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I work with RE/MAX Results. I've been a licensed realtor for 5 years now. I just celebrated 5 years last month, which is cool. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, and I've coming up on 5 years, which is such a crazy milestone. It feels like it flew by. And my story, as far as how I got in, I actually joined the team of the agent that I bought my house with.
Okay.
So we had a super great time. We totally hit it off. And then I joined as his assistant, and I spent about 2 years part-time before I really jumped in full-time, and he was awesome. So now we actually office right next to each other, and we're really, really close.
You jumped in full-time probably right at the real estate boom.
Yeah.
Everybody was getting into real estate probably, right?
Yeah, and it was like hilarious because I was working with two guys at the time on my team, and when I like officially like made the jump, they were like, oh yeah, by the way, we're going to like Colorado or Montana for 10 days when we're not gonna have our phones. So like I took over their book of business as experienced agents. So like right away I had that sink or swim moment like day one when I decided to jump in full time.
Wow, that's awesome though. Like that really shows you like
you're
gonna make it or not.
Correct. Like when it was funny because it was just like, I mean, it was like you had the fight or flight right there, and it all worked out great, and it was such a like roundabout way to get there, but it was so fantastic.
Wow, that's fun though. Like I just hit 1 year on Friday.
Yeah.
Last Friday, and it, like you said, it felt like that.
Yeah.
Like it's just crazy, but fight or flight at that time too. It felt like for me it was like bad time in the market. Rates were still growing. Like Christmas was coming. I was like, I really need to get a deal because I just spent, probably $1,600 on classes and getting my license. And now I'm like, I don't have any money. I got to sell a house. And I luckily sold a house in 10 days. But like,
which is so uncommon.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it really was. But I think that just like proved myself that like I can do this. Like, there's nothing to worry about. Just keep your head down, work hard, and do what you're supposed to do. Yeah. So
absolutely. Yeah. It's been a fun journey to watch you grow through this year. Like I feel like immediately you surround yourself with great company. And it's just like skyrocketed from the start. It's been really, really cool.
I met with an agent, well actually my cousin who's not an agent. She's like, I want to get into real estate. Like, how did you find leads? Like, how did you become successful so quickly? And it was like, I surrounded myself by some of the top agents in the state. Yeah. Like to surround yourself by like a Daniel DeRoche, like a Parker Pepperton, Tyler, TK, like all these guys that are just handing you their playbooks, like the only way you're not going to be successful is if you just fuck around and not do anything.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Well, and I think it can be daunting because I did just meet with a new agent who actually joined a completely different brokerage. And she was like, I don't even know where to start because you get licensed and it's just like you get thrown into the arena with no direction, no guidance. Like you're a business owner and like they don't teach you where leads come from. They don't teach you how to run it. It is a very, very like hard arena at first if you don't have direction.
Oh, it's so hard. I remember that person asked me, my cousin was like, so after you get your license, like, do you know everything you need to do? I'm like, no, everything you learn in your classes, you'll never use.
Pretty much.
She goes, what do you mean? I'm like, yeah, you'll spend about $800, $900 on classes for stuff you'll never use. But you need it because you got to get your license. Yeah. So, I mean, you kind of need it, but you'll never use any of it. And she's like, well, what do I do once I get licensed? And it's like, well, you figure it out on your own.
Yeah.
Or you go to a team.
Yeah.
And, they help you figure it out and they help hold your hand kind of through it. And I explained to her that I was like, I was lucky enough that while I was getting licensed, while I was taking my classes, Blake Geyer, who's at Remax now, was my mentor.
Yeah.
And he sold 10 houses in 60 days. And I was with him on every single appointment. I've listened to every phone call he had. Like if he got a phone call, like he'd three-way me in so I could listen to their conversations. So I basically lived with this guy for 60 days.
Yeah.
Learned every single thing he did so that when I was licensed, I wasn't like brand new to me. Like I knew what I needed to do.
Yeah.
Which was like, I think is super uncommon, but I think is something that people need to start doing more and understanding that while you're getting licensed, that stuff you're learning in those classes probably aren't going to use much. But if you can learn that while you're learning how to create a business, how to get new leads, how to run a good open house, get scripts from top producing agents in the state, like it's going to generate your business like crazy.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that she was like, wow, like how do I do that? I'm like, well, start getting your license and come join our team and I'll help you out.
Oh, absolutely. No, and it's funny too because like for me, some of my first transactions were just like the curveballs that the industry throws at you. Like one of my first deals was like septic and well that both failed. As like a brand new agent, I'm like, that's a fun one to get through. Like some of my first listings were like ugly divorces. So like really just getting thrown to the fire early, but it helped me grow so fast too.
So much. Yeah, some of those difficult deals help you the most.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, and two, like especially like the septic one, the other agent didn't do septic either. Like they had never sold a septic home. So like
it was like, just like, I don't know what's going on to you.
People fumbling through it eventually. And like it got to the finish line, which was great. And we had happy sellers and happy buyers. But some of those first ones right when you get going, like it was a good trial by fire for sure.
It was,
for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how it is. But like you said, if like you just surround yourself by people that are willing to help you, like game changing.
Yeah.
Game changing.
The amount of agents that I could count that have positively impacted me, like more than they'll ever know, which is like kind of unfortunate. Yeah. Like even when I tell them like how much they mean to me and how much they've helped me, I still like don't think I'll ever stress the point enough to them. Like, but there's dozens who have like helped me or I've learned from or just like watched their business and learned so much from what they share and from what they do. And like, it helps me be a better agent to serve my clients better as well. Cause like everybody has their own flavor. Everybody has their own like style of doing things. And it's so funny. Like the more I sit down with people, the more I realize I don't know at the same time.
Yeah.
Like as I continue to learn like what they do or like how they're doing different things or even like how they structure and run their own business and team too.
That's a great point. I feel like there's not a day where I don't learn something new.
Yeah.
And it's like, been in the business for a year. People are like, well, you're talking to like everybody. How don't you know everything? I'm like, nobody knows everything.
That's what makes it so fun too. Like I was talking to somebody about like, it can be challenging at times, like as the market shifts and things like that. And you kind of have the mental gymnastics of that, but it is fun. Like I could never go to a job where I do the same thing for 40 hours a week. Like I feel bad. I'd be a horrible employee moving somewhere else because I'd get so bored so fast.
Oh yeah.
I really would. So like it is a blessing in that sense for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it really is. Well, let's jump into a little origin story. I want to know a little bit more about Wyatt and your background. Like, where'd you grow up? Where'd you go to school? What was your family like?
Yeah, so I grew up in Hugo. It's White Bear Lake's little brother to the north. So that's where I grew up. I went to White Bear High School for all 12 years. I went to St. Cloud State to run track, but I actually never ended up competing because my roommate was the state champ in Iowa. So like,
oh yeah,
his worst day was 2 times better than my best day. So I was like, cool, I'm gonna go find something else then. So then I was up there for a year, made some really, really great friends that I'm still great friends with to this day, and then from there, I was in the restaurant and bar industry for a long time, and then I got into real estate at that point after I bought my house with my wife.
Yeah.
So.
Where'd you meet your wife? College?
No, we're high school sweethearts. So we've been together for 10 years, 10 plus now.
Wow.
It makes me feel makes me feel old saying that because I'm like, wow, it's been a long time. But yep. So I've been with my wife for about 10 years. We've been married. I joke we've been married twice because we got married like April of COVID, right as everything was changing. So like invites were out, wedding venue was planned, and then like every week like we'd get an update from our venue that was like, ooh, we can only have 150, we can only have 100, we can only have and then so we scrapped it with like 12 days prior to our wedding, and we got married in her parents' backyard. But then we had like all of the deposit and everything, so we ended up keeping that, and we did a reception a year, like just over a year later.
Yeah.
With everybody that was originally invited. It was so fun. So I joke we've been married twice now too. So, yeah, but she's a second grade teacher, and
where at?
Woodbury Leadership Academy.
Okay,
it really makes me appreciate my job a lot, though.
Yeah, I was gonna say teacher. That sounds fun.
Seriously,
I could never. I don't know. I went to Winona for a year, and before I dropped out, and I had a lot of friends that were going to be like teachers.
Yeah,
I just more power to you. I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Like, thank you.
Yeah, seriously, I know. I see the stuff she brings home, and it is a lot for sure. For sure,
underpaid. Like, yeah, my girlfriend's a CNA. And like,
okay,
she literally wipes ass. I was like, "What'd you do today?" She's like, "I don't know. I wiped a bunch of old people's asses." I'm like,
"Yeah,
that's awful."
Yeah,
like, and she's like, "Yeah, I know."
That sounds sounds shitty, but.
I love it. We're clipping that for sure.
Yeah. But no, so it's so that's like my story in a nutshell. And then we have a 21-month-old daughter, and then we have one on the way, which is super exciting.
Oh wow!
Too.
Congrats.
So, yes.
Gender?
We don't know yet actually.
Okay.
Yep. So
what are you hoping?
I'm cool with either, honestly. I think having a girl, like having a boy would be cool to kind of get both experiences.
Yeah.
But also like, man, my daughter she's like my buddy, especially with how much I get to like work from home and do stuff like that. Like, I really am blessed to get a lot of time with her. So another girl would be it'd be cool, and then I could fully embrace that too. So I'll be honest, I think I'm in a win-win situation either way, if I'm gonna be honest.
Do you guys want more?
I think 2 is our number. I think that's where we're.
A great number.
I think
a great number.
I think that's where we gotta cap it. I think more would be fun, but I'm just like, man, there's so much I want to do too. Like, I still feel so young where I'm like, I still want to travel. I still want to do all that stuff. So.
How old are you?
I'm 27.
Just young, yeah. So
practically over.
I've had this conversation with a lot of people. Like, do you want to get married young and have kids young, or would you rather get married a little later and then have kids later? Like, what's your take on that?
You know, I think we kind of did right in the middle ground. Like, I was 26. I was 25 technically, I guess, when my daughter was born. Like, just about to turn 26. And I feel like it's a nice middle ground. Like, we'll be about 45 when she's graduating. Like, I feel like we'll still be young enough to like enjoy and do stuff.
Yeah.
But I wasn't like 20. Like, I mean, I had friends who like literally had babies like smack dab after high school, and I'm like, okay, cool. Like,
yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, blue collar workers probably.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I'm just like, good for you guys. Yeah. So I think it's like we're probably right in that sweet spot, right in the middle, I would say. But I am noticing like with a lot of my friends, it does feel like a lot of them are pushing it to later. Like, I have really good friends, or like one of my best friends is a doctor. Like, he's gonna be 27, or he's gonna be 31 before school's even like technically done for him.
Yuck. So I could never.
Yeah. So I'm just like, man,
help him buy a house though.
Seriously, yeah. So, so that's my origin story.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, kids are crazy but loving, and are you ready for the terrible twos?
We're starting to see it already. Like, I had called somebody yesterday, and like my daughter is just like screaming, like, and I'm like, like we're having a good time over here. So, so I think we're ready. I think like we have been very, very fortunate. She's like a super happy baby, like 90% of the time.
Yeah.
And we do have a fantastic support system between parents and grandparents. So that definitely makes it a lot easier for us too.
Yeah.
That helps us for sure.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I've had this conversation with my girlfriend all the time, like young versus old. And I lean to the young. Like, I don't think I would want to be like 55, 60 when my kids are graduating high school. Like,
Correct.
I want to be young. I want to live it up with them. Like, I want to be that dad that's like going to like parents' weekend at college and like throwing a rager with them. Like,
well, and it's like, I think it's so much easier to connect to, like, and it's the same thing like with like friends of mine who have like siblings who are way older, and it's like it's just harder to connect as that gap gets even bigger too. Like, obviously you'll still have like a parent-kid relationship, but I think it's so different when it's like 40-year-old parent versus 55-year-old parent.
Yeah, like my girlfriend's dad's 52 and just had a kid this year.
Yeah.
So like he's gonna be like 70-ish when she graduates high school. Like,
whose diaper is it?
Like, yeah, no, he got married to a 30-year-old this year.
Yeah.
And he, obviously not her mom because she's 22 and I'm 21. So yeah. Little different situation, but like I just could. That's way too old.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, and power to him. I mean,
right? Good for him.
Yeah.
Married a 30-year-old.
Absolutely. So, so that's been my journey thus far, and no, parenthood has been fun. It's been great.
Yeah.
It's been great. And then we have 3 dogs at home too. So.
What kind of dogs?
2 of them are rescues. So one, he's like a German Shepherd mix. One is like a complete mutt. Like he's like 8 different breeds.
Everything.
I swear, yeah. He's like the everything bagel. Like
just mix.
I don't know. I don't even know what's close to describe him. Like he's super cute. And then we have a Dalmatian at home too.
Oh, really?
Yep.
God, I want to watch 101 Dalmatians. I haven't watched that. In forever, and I'm like, I should just go watch it one day.
Yeah.
Like, what's going to happen?
It's great. Well, and I laugh because it makes it like our house decor so easy because I'm like, okay, cool, Dalmatian, easy. like we have a little Dalmatian statue up front and stuff. So
that's awesome.
I've loved it.
Big dog guy then?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're
cats?
Cats are great.
I love that answer.
Cats are great. But yeah, more of a dog person, I would say.
Yeah. I had a dog growing up and a cat growing up, and now I have a cat in my apartment, but Snickers, he's a good guy.
Yeah.
He's a little cuddle bug.
Yeah.
I'll come home from work and he'll just like meow at me until I pick him up and hold him like a baby.
Yeah.
Like I gotta cradle him, and like he just like looks up at me and just like all happy, rubs his head on me. I'm like,
that's parenthood.
Yeah. I'm like, you are a kid. Like, you're not a cat. You are a kid. He used to pee everywhere, and now he's on like I brought him to the vet, right?
Yeah.
And the vet's like, yeah, your cat is a scaredy cat.
Yeah.
He has really bad anxiety. He gets very scared. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
It's a cat. How do they have anxiety? She's like, yeah, very bad separation anxiety. When you leave for the day, he gets very sad.
Yeah.
And that's why he's peeing everywhere. I'm like, this is absurd.
3D cardboard printout of you at home.
I know. So it makes sense why he wants to be held so much, but golly.
Yeah.
Darn cat.
Yeah, absolutely. So switching the tables to you.
Me, yeah.
Yes. So dropping out of college.
Yeah.
Talk about that, because I feel like that has got to be one of the it's got to be scary, right? Like, what emotions what was the driving factor? Like, give us more on that.
One of the scariest things was I basically was going to school for free.
Yeah.
For a golf scholarship.
Yeah.
Was the number 1 golfer, probably would have been all 4 years.
Yeah.
Probably would have transferred D1, probably went down south somewhere, and I just kind of gave it all up.
Yeah.
And the funny story is, so when I was kind of thinking about getting into it, summer of 2022.
Yeah.
I interviewed like 30 different brokerages between like commercial real estate, leasing officer, and residential.
Yeah.
And I met with Tyler, and like me and him clicked. Like, everyone sees how me and Tyler's relationship, we're super strong. Like, we're similar goals. Like, want to just help people and have a good time with it. Connected so well, and I was like, you know what, man? Like, I'm gonna call my golf coach, like, kind of figure some stuff out. I left this office, the office we're in now, got in my car, called my college coach. I'm like, hey, I have this opportunity into real estate. Like, what are your thoughts on it? He goes, you're making the worst fucking decision of your life.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, what do you mean? He's like, you're giving up everything. If you don't go to college, you can't ever do anything with your life and all this. I'm like, geez, dude, like, it's going to be okay. And
yeah,
he goes, you know what? It doesn't even matter. You're never good enough to be good at golf. You'll never be good enough to be anything. And I was like, dude, I'll see you in 3 hours.
Yeah.
I drove to my house, my parents' house. I grabbed all my Winona gear. I drove down to Winona that day, went to his doorstep, dropped off all my gear, emptied my apartment, drove home, and I haven't been back since.
Damn.
I started with Tyler the next day.
Yeah.
And
holy buckets, first off.
So it was just like, it all kind of happened at once, and I was like, let's just do this.
Yeah.
And I had no choice but to jump into real estate head first and give it everything I had.
Yeah. What was the plan? What were you studying, or like what was the plan at Winona State?
So my plan, I went to go play golf. Like
yeah.
My plan was I was going for marketing, probably was never going to use it.
Yeah.
And my plan was to go to Winona for 2 years, transfer, go Division I, play golf, get into Q school, and like go professional at golf.
Yeah.
Obviously I'm here now, but
yeah. Yeah.
Kind of like a Parker Pepperton is, he's one of my business partners, and he was a professional golfer for a little bit, but
yeah,
he actually tried it, and I just kind of gave up early and decided to get into real estate a little earlier.
Yeah.
But I still play golf all the time. It's funny, like the guys I play with get so mad at me. Like I'll go out. I played probably like 15 to 20 rounds this year, like way less than I normally play.
Yeah.
And I went out in September after not golfing for like 2 months, and I shot 4 under 68. And these guys are like, dude, like, I don't even know why we play with you. Like, it's not fun. You shouldn't be this good. You don't play.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know, man. I still got it, I guess.
Yeah. You would hate golfing with me. I don't even count score. So
I saw you at a golf course.
I know. Yeah.
I was pretty litty. You were pretty. We were all having a good time.
Yeah.
That's all that I cared about.
You should have if you would have ran into us like 5 or 6 holes later, it was a fun time.
That was a fun little golf tournament, and I didn't know if I should have played in it. It was like the Remax tournament.
Yeah.
But I was like, I'm playing with Mike and Blake. Like,
it supports a great cause. It's good.
Those two guys are like some of my best friends, and I've met them because of real estate. And I wasn't gonna not play with them because of brokerage differences.
Yeah.
I was like, no.
I don't know Blake as well. He's at Remax now. Was he at EXP before though?
He was with the Tyler Miller team.
Okay, got it.
So he was my mentor. He was like, he's the one that brought me to EXP, I guess. He was my sponsor.
Yeah.
And then he decided to go back, and he's got like 10 days to decide if he can come back and kind of go into his spot at EXP.
Okay.
But I don't know if he's gonna or if he's not.
Interesting.
Blake,
interesting.
come on, man.
Interesting. Okay. So yeah, that's a really great story. And then obviously
crazy.
Year 1, what are you doing? Like, I mean, obviously, like, being in the business, we know the stats of kind of like how much new agents do and the failure rate. Like, it's like a 90% failure rate, and I have a feeling going into a really stretched, tough market, like it's gonna
be 95.
It really could. Like, what are you doing that's separating you from the rest of the crowd?
I think my biggest thing, and I mean, I went to Vegas and I got to hear from some of the top agents in the country.
Yeah.
And my big takeaway was that they're focusing on like basically one major pillar.
Yeah.
And they're being so fucking good at it.
Yeah.
That nothing matters.
Yeah.
There was John Cheplack comes out. I mean, this guy's make 50 calls every hour or you're going to be a failure. And then the next guy comes out and he goes, yeah, I don't know. I've never made a cold call in my life.
Yeah.
But I've made 60 million. I sold 60 million last year just on YouTube leads.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, so you don't have to make 50 calls every day. John Cheplack, come on. No, don't kill me, please. You're huge. The guy is so big. But no, it's just like realizing that, wow, like if you really just focus on one thing that you're really, really good at, like, nothing really matters. Where I see a lot of like newer agents like spread too thin, where they're doing a little bit of everything.
They're chasing 10 different shiny objects.
Yeah. And I'm like, okay, I'm not a good cold caller.
Yeah.
I realized that early in my career, and I was like, okay, that's one of my biggest weaknesses.
Yeah.
How do I, still focus on that very little?
Yeah.
But work on my strengths, which are open houses, podcasts, events, talking to people face to face.
Social media.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So social media is like one of my biggest pillars that I work on.
Yeah.
It's the social media and the open houses. Like those are my pillars. Like if I just kill it at those, like my whole career is just going to go up from there.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's been super beneficial for me. And then just being at a place and like a team that is so willing to help me with anything.
Yeah. Because I think the culture especially like is so important. Like, and I've been fortunate enough to know, like, I know Tyler really well. I know TK really well.
Love both those guys.
Yeah, you're surrounded
and they're
by
just goofballs.
Yeah, you're surrounded by great people because the business can get hard, man. Like before the camera was rolling today, and we talked about like some of the tough stuff you can face with a tough transaction or like something goes wrong. Like, you have to be in an environment where you're still positive and uplifted and like otherwise, man, this business can just eat you.
Yeah, well, and I think the biggest thing is like staying on top of like the market trends and like how to attack different markets. Like right now everyone's like, 8% interest rates. I was talking to an agent, a part-time agent the other day. They're like, what are you doing to like, when people say interest rates, like how do you object that? And it's like, well, do you know what a 2-1 buy down rate is?
Yeah.
He had no clue.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you have to be more educated in the market and know what's out there.
Correct.
Like, what can you do to help your agent or your buyers? I have one buyer, single mom. She lives in a 1-bedroom apartment with her kid and her rabbit.
Yeah.
Lower price point, 200 and under, trying to be in the Osseo school district, and it's not the easiest thing to do.
Yeah.
And I was explaining to her where she was like, well, maybe I just wait for rates to come down.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, let's get on the phone. Let's talk about this. She's like, okay. I'm like, hey, we obviously know your price point's low.
Yeah.
It dropped more because of rates going higher.
Yeah.
But let me explain this to you for a second. If we wait right now, right, rates are going to come down. What are you going to do? You're going to get back into the buying field? She goes, yeah. I'm like, okay, what about all those other thousands of people that are waiting that are going to do the same thing?
Millions.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
It's literally millions of people that are just waiting for the rates to drop. They're going to get back in. And I asked her, I just kind of like gave her the options and like, what do you think is going to happen there? Are prices going to go up or down at that point? Yeah. She goes, well, they're probably going to go up. I'm like, exactly. Yeah. Remember, we were writing offers in spring and we were getting beat out because we're an FHA. Like investors were coming in 20, 30K over all cash. I'm like, we're going to get back to that again once rates drop down. So if we can get into something now, I'm not saying this is your forever home. It's not going to be. Yeah. But if we can get into something now and we can sell in 2 years from now, they're predicting like an 8 to 10% appreciation rise in the next 2 years. Yeah. So if I can tell you you're going to buy something at $200,000 this year, but by 2025 you're going to sell it for $225,000 minimum. Yeah. Make that $25K. Now we can get into that house that you wanted to be in Blaine. Yeah. Is that something that you'd be interested in? She's going to be like, yeah. Yeah.
Well, and I also think it leads to such like opportunity, just being the homeowner in general. Like my wife and I, we bought our house and we're like, this is not our forever home. Like we're like, we wanted to get in, like rates were low and we bought, and we're like this, and then all of a sudden like we redid the kitchen, we redid this, and all of a sudden we're like, we love this place. Like we're probably going to be here actually way longer, and we've capitalized on all that equity. And then also like, being in that position to kind of dictate what we want to do with it. Like we might turn it into a rental, we might do that. Like I think it just opens so many doors that like renting doesn't, and it gives you a lot of future options.
It really does.
And I think right now like it is tough because people do have to kind of eat that tough rate. I mean, there's no dancing around it that it's hard.
It is.
But getting creative with a 2-1 buy down, getting a better price on the house, like man, especially depending on like what market or price point you're looking at. Like I just had a listing appointment on Friday. I kid you not. Like if you go back like 7-8 months, comps are like 625 all day. I guarantee like somebody's gonna get that thing at like 550. Yeah. And they're gonna immediately, when rates come down, are gonna be sitting on $75,000 of equity. It's gonna be insane.
That's my point.
Yeah.
That like people are like, today or now is the worst time to buy. Rates are too high. Rent and wait for rates to come down. It's like, well, no. If you can get a house right now, shit, like you're going to be doing well. And if you can get like a loan officer that's willing to give you a free refi, correct? You can get the lower price now, refi in 2 years when rates drop. Now you got the lower price and the lower rate. Shit.
I think that's like the biggest win-win. It's so hard to like, what's your best way of kind of maybe not convincing people, but like highlighting that without like getting kind of that salesy pushback, if you may.
It's really hard, and I think a lot of people are visual learners, right? Yeah. So I'm really focusing on with other lenders that like my preferred lenders right now of doing home buyer workshops like twice a month. Yeah. And just being like, hey, we get it, rates are high. Come watch this. We have visuals to break down like, if we buy now, you can refi. Yeah, you might lose a little bit of money, but the equity you're going to gain is like astronomical. Like, and I think just explaining to people via social media, obviously that's one of my pillars, so I focus on that a lot. And these home buyer workshops, I think it's really making people more educated. Tyler was like, when rates kind of jumped last year, everybody stopped buying. It was like that. But he's like, now they're at like 8%. He's like, he got, I want to say 4 offers accepted, buy-side offers last week. And he's like, I've never had more buyers than I do right now. Because people are starting to understand and starting to be more educated on what's going on. And it's because of people like us that are posting on social media, explaining to the media what's going on and the opportunity people have now. It's a really good opportunity,
I know,
to be honest.
Some of my best buys last year happened. It's every year, like in this little window from like now, anybody that probably closes around from here to February. Like always seems like there's like smoking deals. Like, and I, like one of my best friend's sister and her husband, they bought a place in Lino Lakes last year. We got it for like a net of $490. The house across from them didn't back up to a pond, didn't have the updates that had sold for like $550 or $540 just a few weeks ago. And I was just like scratching my head like, holy buckets, did they just jump into so much equity? It's such a fun spot to see like too. Because then eventually, if they choose to refi into a lower rate, like they've got options, which is awesome.
It's such a cool, that's one of my favorite things about real estate is that we're literally changing people's lives. Like if I can help this single mom get into a house and get into a house of her dreams in like 3 years from now, because I had a conversation saying this is the best time to buy, like I'm going to cry thinking about it. Like, it's incredible.
Being 1 year in, what has been the biggest win thus far?
Oh, wow. I don't know.
That's a tough question. I know.
I think the biggest win was from going from being a mentee when I first started a year ago to being a mentor now. And helping some of the younger agents on the team, Max Menny, Nate Johnston. I help them every single day with the questions they have. And I think that it helps me like mentally know that I am educated in the market. I am educated on what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing. And I think it just gives me confidence that, and it's not like a cocky confidence. It's a confidence that you need to be successful. Every successful agent I've met talks very confidently, because they know what they're doing. And I think being a mentor, being all this, being the second producing agent on Tyler's team other than Tyler, has just made me feel confident where I can talk to a buyer and be like, hey, this is what's going on. This is what I recommend. Like, what are your thoughts? Like, I want to hear what you're thinking. And I think that's been kind of my biggest win, other than getting $1 million+ buy side a couple of weeks ago. But that's like petty, I feel like.
No, I think you got to share all the stuff though.
Right?
Because it's, like that. And that's like, and going back to the confidence, like even when I reflect on my journey, that was the biggest moment for me where I was like, because I weirdly early on, like in my journey, I was exposed to just like higher end properties, like new, like, and not like multi-million or $1 million houses, even, but just like, I feel like I jumped in and just really hit my groove in like kind of the upper move up bracket of
the
like
step ups,
500 to 800. Like that just seemed like the bread and butter I got exposed to right away. And like through FSBOs and through whatever, like that was where it was. And like, I mean, it was tough because I knew a lot of times like I was interviewing against like agents who were selling like $25 million a year, and like as a new agent I was like holy bucket. So I knew I had to learn, and as soon as I felt like that confidence grew with it, like I knew like that was when I was like, okay, I've made it, I'm here. Like because that was that it's huge, and it comes at once, it feels like.
So I talked about like my pillars. Do you have something similar? Like what are your main focuses on finding leads, or what was super successful for you in these last five years?
So I've always been really good at for sale by owners.
Really?
That's what my mentor taught me, and like that's where I got like my start, kind of. That's how I built my business. So it's an arena. I mean, you got to get in there, you're going to get yelled at, you're going to get screamed at. But it's also like it can be so rewarding too, because like I've had people who've like had bad experiences with realtors, or who have said like realtors are overpaid. And then all of a sudden like you bring in the right solution for them, or you make it work, you find out how to do it for them, and all of a sudden like they change their tune. Like some of them are my best referral clients. And I'm like, that is the coolest thing ever. Like to literally change them from one end of the spectrum of not using a realtor to being like they're an A+ raving fan. Like that's such a good feeling. And and it's cool to help them. Like I've had people who have been on for 90 days, not sold, have come under us, done our marketing plan, and been like under contract within the weekend.
Wow.
And it's like, it's so cool and stress relieving, and it's such a successful feeling for them too, to be like, okay, that worked and it was great.
Wow.
So that's probably my biggest pillar. Otherwise, just like social media sphere have been great. And yeah, I mean, that's really kind of my big three right there.
Business referrals at all, like business partner referrals?
Yeah, like I have a lot of great lenders I'm connected with. I'll get the occasional lead from them as well.
Those are always nice. I love those.
I do.
Fun.
I do. And I wish I had like 1 million buyers to give it back 10.
Oh my gosh, I know, right?
I do. Like there's so many like that I just wish I could be like, here's literally 10 leads for you because I love you. Like, and there's so many great people too. Like there's a dozen lenders I have that I would happily refer to that are fantastic. They're great people. They know their job. They know how to do it well. Like those are like I have a lot of great lender connections as well, and title people. Like I've gotten stuff from title people before as well. So but that's probably my smallest of the pillars, I would say. So.
With FSBOs, are you just Zillow, going in Zillow, or do you Vulcan 7's
really big. We used to do Mojo. That was great. I like the system for Mojo the most personally. Like I just think it's great. But now I've switched out of like I've just been calling them right off Zillow. Yeah. And then if it's a good conversation, it's changed because there used to be like 120 or 150 at a moment. Now it's like 40 in the whole metro. So it's you've got to stand out from all the agents that are calling them. So like I've really gone from like kind of the shotgun approach of like, let me just hit everybody, make sure they have at least talked to me, to like, how can I add as much value to this person? Like, even if they don't go with me, how can I like, who can I introduce them to that they might need? Like, what advice does this listing look like it needs? Like, it's definitely gone to the more of a value add approach.
So I guess not to like dive into your strategies, but are you like diving deep into like the photos and like their marketing, I guess, to a certain point, and just like giving them feedback like, hey, maybe try doing this with your photos, or
or even introducing them, because like even if I can't get business out of it, like I'd love if my photographer could, and he does such a good job too, like that I'm like, I really do want his work highlighted. But it's like trying to just educate them too on like, maybe like this is missing, or do this, or like teach them about virtual staging, like, because it's not that expensive, and it can make a huge difference if you're not going to stage it. Like, I'd rather spend $150 on virtual staging. So I think it's kind of the educational portion of it for sure. And and then I just love talking to people too.
Right.
So that helps. Like, I'd rather be helpful to them if I can than anything.
Yeah, that's why podcasts are so much fun, right?
Yeah, seriously.
We legit just get to talk.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Well, Wyatt, do you have kind of any last words or any last topics you'd like to discuss, or?
Man, I think we hit it home today. I think we got a really
we went through
good,
a lot.
We did. We unpacked a ton. No, man, that was it. That was everything for me.
Awesome. Well, at least let them know where they can find you.
Yeah. Truly, I'm an old man at 27, so Facebook is my go-to.
Dude, that's where the money's at.
But I'm on Instagram. You can find me at Wyatt Lemon Homes, and
awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, well, I appreciate everyone coming on and watching today. If you guys need a house or need to sell a house, like, reach out to us. We'd be more than happy to help you guys out.
Totally.
Peace out.
Thank you.